Hi, Samuel Leeds here, and today we've got a very special guest. We've got a mortgage broker who specialises in buying property and then recycling and pulling your money out of the deals, which I know is a very exciting topic. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Kevin Wright.
Hello there.
Great to have you on the show. Thank you for coming down.
Appreciate the invite, Samuel.
Tell us in a nutshell, what is it that you do? What's your background?
Well, I'm an investor and a broker. Mortgage broker is probably oversimplistic. I would say property finance broker is, I think, is more accurate because myself and my business partner Tony, we do a lot more than mortgages. But also on the back of that, I have a training business where I train people to intelligently and creatively finance their property deals.
That's fantastic. So, what are we talking? Putting your money in, doing it up, and then pulling out your money. Those types of deals, like people are probably very familiar with. I know back sort of when I started in 2008, you'd buy a property below market value, and then you'd refinance it back to its true value. We're not talking about that, but we are talking, or are we?
We're talking a variation of that.
Okay.
You know, I mean, now I was actively brokering for investors at that time. You know, with the old Mortgage Express and that type of thing. You know, I had guys that I was brokering and they were buying 5 a week.
Yeah. Because they can.
Because they could at that time, and you know, and getting all their money out on the day they complete.
I got in late.
Yeah.
I did one deal like that, and then they changed the rules. Mortgage Express went bust.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's not as maybe seamless as that was, but it's the nearest legal equivalent to that, and that's the stuff that I devised probably about 2011, 2012, because I'd seen what investors wanted. I'd seen it didn't work anymore, so I devised some creative ways to buy a property that mirrored it as closely as we could do legally.
That's great. Do you think that strategy is risky in today's market with when you're relying on builders sticking to budget and timescale, you're relying on valuers being in a good mood? You know, is the strategy, does it come with risk?
It does, and the better your due diligence is, the more you're able to mitigate that risk. But, you know, I mean, anything in life is risky.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't eliminate risk, but certainly with some intelligence, you can mitigate it.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, builders and tradesmen can let you down, but you should factor in some contingency that you allow them to go missing for, I don't know, a few days or a few weeks. So it's all about risk management, I think. So and understanding what's a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the strategy of buying and pulling your money out is one way of buying property with no money or little money. It's a strategy that I don't sort of talk about in my book because it is difficult. It does take. You need to know people in the know like yourself that can find you the lending. Because I'm sure a lot of brokers, if you ask them to do the stuff that you're asked to do, would say absolutely not. So why don't we start just by, for anyone that doesn't know anything about this strategy, for anyone that doesn't even know what bridging is, why don't you just define what is a bridging loan and how does it work?
Bridging loans are short-term finance. Mortgages are, by contrast, a medium to long-term finance. So bridging loans are something you take out for typically a few months to allow you to get into a property that would be difficult to buy with a mortgage. Either the speed at which it needs to be bought. Let's say you've got a distressed seller, and I don't necessarily mean financially distressed, but they've got a reason to need to be out of that property, and they can't sit around waiting for 6, 9, 12 months to get the asking price or somewhere close to it. So there's something going on in their life that means that they need to get rid of it. So it's finding that, you know, it's not an uncommon term to those in property, motivated sellers.
Yeah.
So it's about finding motivated sellers, and it's also about if they need to complete quickly, you know, in a matter of weeks rather than months, like a mortgage, then a bridging loan acts quickly. You know, you can often complete in 28 days. You know, in fact, auction purchases, which mostly have to complete within 28 days, almost all auction purchases are bought either with cash or bridging finance.
Don't talk to me about auction and bridging.
yeah. You've been there recently, I know.
Yeah, and I appreciate your support, helping out with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sort of stepping in, and also moral support as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us a case study of a good typical example of a property whereby you would buy it and then pull your money out? Give me the figures and run through a case study with me.
There's a couple we know, Joe and Jane. Now, I do some stuff like that, and they do some bigger conversion stuff, but now and again they'll do a little flip deal if they can make some money. Now, I'm going to tell you about a flip deal that I did for them, but also bear in mind that if you want to buy and hold it, rent it, and pull your money out, it would work for that as well.
Sure.
So they'd found just a normal terrace property down in the West Country, but it was in a bit of a state. And the sort of ones where they haven't been touched for 20, 25 years, and some people refer to them as little time capsules.
Yeah.
So everything's dated, swirly carpets, avocado bathroom suite, all of that sort of stuff. So it needed gutting and refurbing. So it was probably in too poor a condition to get a mortgage. So therefore, the only real option was to buy it with cash or use bridging finance. Now, the thing about people, I think we all know cash buyers, not necessarily in property, but this is a universal experience. We all know what cash buyers do when they want to buy something. They hammer you down on the price. Yeah. Cash buyers don't pay top dollar. So bridging allows you to adopt the behaviours of a cash buyer. So you can think like they think, you can act like they act, you can negotiate like they negotiate, you can buy the properties that they buy, and you can make the profits that they make.
Yeah.
So bridging allows you to complete fast, so you can get into that market. So Joe and Jane, we've done quite a few bridging deals for them, so they're familiar with it now. So they made what you could call an adventurous offer, if you like, on the basis that they could help these people out, help them move on with their life, and buy the property quickly, and they did. So they made an offer of 50,000. Can't remember if it was the first offer, but anyway, their offer was accepted at 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we did a bridging loan based on that. Now, then they spent 15,000 on the refurb. Yep. And using some of the techniques that I teach people to get the best value refinance that you can, and there's a process that you need to go through, and most people don't do it, and that's why they get down valuations. They got it revalued at 95,000.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. So bought for 50, spent 15, got it revalued at 95.
So then they pulled out presumably all of their money.
Well, they sold it.
They sold it.
But
they could have.
Yeah, but they could have then got let's say a 75% mortgage based on 95,000 and pulled out most of their money.
Yeah. Excellent. And then rented it out, covered the mortgage.
And then rented it out,
no money down deal.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd say no money left in.
They did put some money down.
They did put some money down.
Yeah.
But they got it back out. I think they got out all but about probably about £5,000.
Yeah.
That they left it.
Incredible. So what are some of the, I know that this is something that you go more in detail with your clients, but give us just a few pearls of wisdom about what are some of the golden nugget pieces of advice in order to raise the value, because if you bought something for say 50 grand and spent £15,000 on it, how on earth, for anyone listening, can that be considered by a valuer worth to be £95,000? Surely wouldn't they just look at it and say, you bought it for 15, you spent 15, it's worth 65. How do you do that?
They do, really. So where a lot of investors go wrong is an over-reliance on comparable values. So running around finding properties that have sold in the same or adjacent streets for between 90 and 100,000, and then making that their main reason why it should be valued at 95.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really cut it with valuers. What they want to see is show us what you've done to make the difference. So it's about creating a robust case for disparity. Yes, we bought it at 50, but we've done a full refurb, and here's pictures, here's a work schedule, here's a valuation report that we've done ourselves that confirms that it's worth 95,000.
Yeah.
So, it's all those sort of things. So it's about putting a robust case for what I call disparity.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, it was in a certain condition when you bought it, but it's not now. We've added that sort of value. Now,
So that valuation then, you said when you put together a valuation, what is that valuation? Is that a RICS valuation? So you get a RICS valuer. So the first person to have to convince then is the RICS valuer, presumably?
your own RICS valuer.
Your own RICS valuer. Is that easy to do?
It's easier sometimes than others. Nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So nothing's foolproof.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's by understanding what you're doing, you're shifting the odds further in your favour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you're mitigating the risk again of a refinance down valuation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works better than others.
Yeah. So you're gonna find a property. What would you say how would you spot a really good opportunity like that? What kind of key things would you be looking for?
It doesn't have to be, but it helps if it's vacant.
Yeah.
Because if no one's living there, something's happened.
Okay.
Maybe they've moved out for another job. Maybe they've moved out to be near family. Maybe they've emigrated.
So that's on the terms of getting a good deal because it's empty.
Yeah.
And then what about, is there anything that you look for in regards to how to really uplift the value?
If there's a specific problem with it. So for me, the best deals are the ones you actually can't get mortgages on right now.
Yeah.
Because, let me ask you a question. How many mortgage-dependent buyers are interested in buying unmortgageable properties? None. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look for a unmortgageable property, your competitors largely fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
So there's much less competition.
So cash offers only on a description
Yeah.
is a good thing to look for?
Yeah.
Of course, it could be because it's got a mine under it or something, but that's
So
a good thing.
Yeah, you need to do your diligence. Now, look at the other side of the fence, because if you own an unmortgageable property, if you're the owner,
Yeah.
you'll have worked out who your target market is. Who's going to buy my property?
A cash buyer. And there aren't many.
That's right. But there's also a further bit of thinking that goes on there. The owner of an unmortgaged property says going to be a cash buyer, but they know what cash buyers do, the same as you and me do.
Yeah.
So they're already primed to be hit on the price, to be hammered down on the price. So they've got it up for an asking price, but they don't really expect to sell it
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
So there's two key things.
So is the main trick buying a property at a very, very bargain price that needs a lot of work?
Yeah.
Is that the crux of it?
The more work it needs, the cheaper you can buy it.
Yeah. So if you can buy an absolute bargain property that needs a lot of work, brilliant, because then chances are spend some money on it, get it up to scratch, convince a RICS valuer, your RICS valuer, that actually it's worth a lot more now, and then you can then recycle your money.
Yeah.
Fantastic. One of the things that a lot of people have been going crazy about recently is the new Kent Reliance changes, because Kent Reliance are now saying that they will let you refinance the next day or as soon as the works are done. We know that that's not a massive deal because there's already lenders that do that and have been doing that for years. But people didn't know that.
It seems not.
But Kent Reliance are a very big, famous, well-known. They do residential properties.
They are, yeah. I mean, Kent Reliance are a decent lender, and it's great to have.
They're fantastic.
It's great to have them switch sides, if you like, from day one lender or from 6-month lenders to day one lenders.
Yeah.
So it's good for them to hop over to the other side.
But even if there was already lenders doing that, but people didn't know, the fact that that's woken people up and now they do know that you can refinance the next day, what do you think that means to investors, the fact that they've realised they can do this now, and how will that change people?
I think, if people are going to do a buy, refurb and refinance deal, to use my brand, Recycle Your Cash, it gives them another angle to do it. So I think, the publicity that Kent Reliance have got because they are a good lender. You know, I mean, they do things that the normal buy-to-let lenders won't do. You know, they'll lend on HMOs, they'll lend to limited companies. So you know,
most of my clients use Kent Reliance. So when they changed the rules, I think that's why
Yeah,
all my
could be.
database were over the moon.
yeah, could be, yeah, and you know, any extra lenders is in a given space, you know, is to be welcomed.
Yeah.
So
How many other lenders on the market are there that will let you refinance the next day?
if you sort of bring in commercial lenders as well, probably about a dozen.
About a dozen.
Yeah.
So what does the process look like with Kent Reliance? Because really, it's not quite as simple as just refinancing the next day potentially, because you are going to have to tell us what the process might look
Yeah,
like.
I mean, next day is a bit of an over exaggeration.
Unless you've got very fast builders.
Yeah, I guess what it means is that as soon as you've done the refurb, you're eligible to apply for a refinance.
There's no limit.
No.
Yeah.
So it could be, it could be just a quick, light cosmetic refurb for a couple of weeks. It could be something a bit heavier, take you 8 or 10 weeks.
Yeah.
But whenever you're finished, then you can make your application, and they will look at it. Now, they would need to check that you actually own it and when you bought it, and they would either do that on the land registry or ask for your solicitor's completion statement. But then they'll just underwrite it as normal. So their underwriting process is no real different. I mean, they won't go above 75% in that. So the 80 and 85% deals, you can't get them within 6 months. It's capped at 75%.
Yeah.
But it will just be their ordinary underwriting process. You know, you'll put the application in, they'll ask for certain documentation, they'll send a valuer out, and the valuer will want to see the work that you've done
Of course.
to uplift the value.
So would you always recommend keeping receipts?
I'd always recommend keeping them, but not necessarily showing them.
If they're too cheap,
Yeah.
let them think that you spent more than you have.
I just let them come to their own conclusion.
Yeah.
And if you do a comprehensive work schedule,
Yeah.
they should be able to work out what you most likely would spend if you've got a builder around to do.
Yeah. And you're going to show them before and after pictures.
Yeah.
You're going to leave the before and after pictures with them to take home. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. So what would you say to someone who had a lot of cash? Say someone who's maybe got a few £100,000. Would they be better off still going down the bridging route, or would they be better off to just put all their money in, do the deal, pull all their money out, and then just rinse and repeat?
I would say if you've got cash, you should use it,
Yeah.
because you've got no borrowing costs.
Yeah.
And I think also it depends at what stage you're at. Because what I see a lot of people coming into property, if you see them in 3 years' time, they've progressed.
Yeah.
They're not still doing. If they started off doing little 2 up, 2 down refurbs, they're not still doing that.
Yeah.
So they're progressing. They've earned their spurs, if you like.
They get boring.
On that, yeah. And so they want to challenge themselves. And as year by year, they do bigger and bigger deals. I've seen people come through, and within 5 years they're doing new build stuff, build to rent. Building 8, 10 units on a site.
A lot of profit in those.
Yeah. So I think if for the scale of deal you want to do, if you've got cash, you should use it. Now, principally because you've got 0 borrowing costs. Yeah. Now, where you should use bridging is if your cash is tied up in a deal. Let's say you're waiting to refinance or you're waiting to sell it, and another corker of a deal comes along.
Yeah.
That you think, damn, I really wish I had my cash.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to let that deal go. That's the time to use bridging, because it gets you into the next deal that if you just used your cash, you would have missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then you're only paying bridging costs when there's a real need to do so.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you progress, probably the size of deal that you take on will outstrip the cash that you've got. So then as you progress and do bigger and bigger deals, so you might buy, a block of small offices and you want to convert them to maybe, 15 apartments. Well, your cash might not stretch that far. So again, you put your cash in at the front end and then borrow the rest to either complete the purchase or build it out, certainly.
Yeah. Someone that's, say, just got £10,000-20,000 in the bank, is there anything they can do?
Yeah, I think so. They're going to be limited geographically on where they can buy property.
Maybe not London.
Maybe not London. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's certain areas of the country, in the north, in Wales, and those sort of areas, Midlands too in certain areas. You can pick up a property with that sort of cash. There's a bridging deal now that works. It's called a refurbishment bridge. So they will lend you 70% of the purchase price, 100% of the refurb cost.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So if you're buying property for let's say 50 grand, and you got 20 grand, well, okay. So you'd need 15 grand as your deposit. Then you've got a bit more to cover your legals and stamp duty. You don't need to worry about the refurb cost because they're lending you that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do those sort of deals.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
What kind of properties are you investing in at the moment then?
I started investing in 1983 when I first did my refurb. So I've done buy to sells, I've done buy to holds, I've done single lets, I've done multi lets. Didn't call them HMOs when I was doing them, but they were HMOs under modern parlance. I've done new build. So at the moment, I'm taking a break from actively investing because I'm building two businesses. I've now got a business partner, Tony, that I brought in about 4 years ago on the brokerage, so we could, have greater capacity.
Yeah.
And we've now got staff working with us, and that. So we're building the brokerage, and I'm also building my education business as well.
Yeah.
Now, lesson I've learned in my earlier years is spread yourself too thinly, and you just do a bad job of everything.
Correct.
So I've got two businesses I'm focused on now. So I've shelved the property business. I'm still a landlord, but I've shelved the property business.
You're not actively pursuing deals?
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
No, but I will do. I'll go back to it.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit. Anyone that's in property will know it's a bit like a drug, isn't it?
Yeah. It's addictive.
It is. It pulls you back in,
Yeah.
and it's been doing that on and off. For
But the fact that you're financing deals for people on a day in, day out basis means that you're very up to date. You know what's going on. Yeah. It's not like you're behind the times at all. In fact, you're one of the most ahead of the times people probably around. So that's fantastic. So what are your visions then for the future? What are your plans over the next 12 months?
On the brokerage side, we're just pushing that forward.
Yeah.
Tony's based in the office all week. So it's prudent for him to do the processing, and with the staff that we have working for us. I tend to be out and about more, speaking at events, running training events, and mentoring people. So I'll often set up a deal, if you like, in terms of how to structure. And once I'm clear with our client, what's the prudent way to structure the deal, hand it over to Tony. And then Tony does it from there.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's a good division of labour.
So what is it that really gets you up in the morning then? What is it that really makes you tick? What would you say your purpose is, your mission?
I feel incredibly fortunate because in a business context, I only ever talk to someone that's invested in property. So those are my conversations every day. Whether it's someone that's asking a bit of advice, someone that how to structure a deal, someone that wants particular finance for a property they bought or want to buy, or talking about people about my different training events. That's my conversation, and they're the most enlightening and invigorating conversations I can imagine. So it's a bit of a cliche, but there's that saying that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
True.
And I've got to say, I feel pretty much like that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And when you can help people at the same time and love doing what you're doing, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what would be the best way, if people wanted to reach out to you in regards to the broker things, what's your website?
It's positivepropertyfinance.co.uk.
Fantastic. Positivepropertyfinance.co.uk. And there's you and also Tony.
Yeah.
And Tony. Tonight we're off to the Property Investors Circle.
Yep.
And you're going to be speaking, doing a Q&A.
Yep.
And basically letting people ask you any financial questions
Yep.
they like. So that's going to be really exciting.
Shoot from the hip.
Thank you so much for coming down. It's nice to have you in my home. I look forward to spending the evening with you as well.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Cheers. Thank you so much for watching. If you benefited from that video, please do share it with your family and friends. For more videos like it, you can watch right here. And if you'd like to spend 2 days with me at the Property Investors Crash Course, watch this video, see what happens. But whatever you do, don't forget to subscribe right here, and I'll see you next time.